Hey there, Rivermen fans. Happy Labor Day weekend. I'm Jason Ruff, and this is the Drydock podcast where we take a look back at the Rivermen season that was, preview a bit of the season soon to be, and get in touch with some of your favorite Peoria Rivermen. Our next guest is a man who loves to come in clutch. He is one of only a handful of players in the history of the Southern Professional Hockey League that has three President's Cup rings. I, of course, am referring to Jordan Ernst. Big Ernst. Jordan, how are you doing, my friend? Welcome back to the U.S. You were on taking a little trip over across the pond to the United Kingdom, right?
Yeah, Ruffer, thanks for having me on. I took a little vacation to visit some family, so it's good to be back, but I could have probably stayed a bit longer there. I was having a good time.
Where in the U.K. did you stay?
I started my trip in Surrey and then Guildford, and then went to London for a handful of days, and then ended it in Aylesbury and Leighton Buzzard.
Nice.
So,
Get in touch with Katie Pogan, because she's lived in the UK for a couple of years. So you get in touch with her, find out what are the best pubs to go visit.
yeah, we had a chat, but I just went out there kind of blindfolded, stuck my head in a couple of places and found some.
How has your summer been over the course of the last couple of months? How much of it is just kind of reset and recharging after the championship season? How much of that is getting back in the gym, working out, and getting ready for getting back in season shape?
Yeah, I think I jumped back in the gym pretty quick. It's just something I like to do. It's one of my hobbies, but it was always kind of focused around hockey. It wasn't more for myself, but I do coaching in the summer, so I was pretty busy with that. And then this trip kind of was my reset the batteries and get away from everything.
Well, getting ready to get back into the season. We mentioned a little bit in the opening, you're one of a handful of players, only about 7 or 8 players in the history of this league that have won 3 President's Cups in their career. Alec Hageman is the other. Looking back on those 3 championships, what championship win was the most satisfying, and what championship win was the hardest, and why?
I think both of them honestly come with this last one. The satisfying part, obviously, you win it at home. It's kind of like for Hags too, the storybook. I know it's one of my best friends. So to see that happen and just kind of to take a step back and watch the guys that haven't won it before, that was pretty special. So, but then the hardest too, we go down in game 1, and then your back's against the wall the whole time. But I mean, there wasn't pressure on us. Obviously, I didn't feel it was just our focus and kind of our response to come back, and we knew we could in that room. So that was the challenge, but we accepted challenges all year and we ran with it.
Well, one of the big things working in Peoria's favor in that final series was the fact that you guys had home ice advantage, and the Rivermen only lost 1 game in regulation at home all season long, regular season and playoffs. I've asked a lot of guys this is, why do you think the Rivermen had such a strong home ice advantage this year? Why do you think the Rivermen played just so well, some of their best hockey here at Carver Arena this past year?
I think the fan base, honestly. I would not want to be an opposing player to come play in that rink when it gets loud.
Yeah.
I mean, I think for us, like you think of Roanoke when they're slamming on the glass and stuff, like it's a tough environment to play in. I think our fans blow any team away in this league.
Yeah. And they certainly came out in force, 5,500 on game 2 and then 6,000 plus on game 3. Did you notice that on the ice, just how not only the loudness, but just the energy of that building more so than nights past?
Yeah, I think honestly coming out in warm-ups, especially that Sunday game, obviously Sundays are more of a quiet day. But when we skated out for that one, I remember getting back in the room after warm-ups and looking at Hags and going, this place is juiced. Oh.
What was when Hageman scores that empty netter in that game 3 and everyone pretty much realized that, yes, this is going to happen. There's no way Huntsville's going to be able to come back from this. What was that moment like on the bench with your teammates and on the ice?
Yeah, I think that's really when I started taking it in. Just one, like you just said, you look at your teammates and stuff, but then you realize, you look around, like I had family there. You look at everybody in the crowd, how their reaction is and stuff. Like it's a special moment. I know I won't forget it forever.
And you had a couple of big family moments. You actually had a really good goal, really good game when you had to, I think it was your brother in attendance, and you became an uncle We get to call you Uncle Ernie now all of
Yeah.
a sudden. But, you talk a lot about your family and how supportive of they are behind your efforts and behind your ability to be a star hockey player in this league. How important has your family been in this whole process for you, do you think?
Oh yeah, huge. I mean, I think it goes for any player too, right? But you have a supportive family on your side. It just makes the whole process that much easier. And that's a big reason why Peoria is nice for me. It's 2 hours door to door, so I can see them quite a bit. And then, coming back and stuff, like you just said, becoming an uncle. I have 3 little ones, 2 nieces and a nephew. So to be close to them, it's something that I cherish too.
We starting them in on hockey already, or are we waiting a couple years for that?
That the one game you were talking about with my niece, she's my goddaughter too. That was her first ever hockey game. So that was the one I pointed up to her after I scored that one. I knew I wanted to get one for her. So that's something I won't forget.
And it was perfect. It was right in that end where they were overlooking the goal mouth too. It was just perfect. A lot of storybook moments this season. Another one, I think, for at least for Jean-Guy Trudel, becoming the winningest head coach in this league in terms of playoff victories. He's 6 away from the regular season record. But when you look at, it was a little bit of a different dynamic in the locker room this year. Obviously, you have Jean-Guy Trudel, but you also have Eric Levine, a guy you've played with a number of times, now transitioning to an assistant coaching role. How did that dynamic work, and what made it a positive and an asset from a player's perspective?
I think just from the older guys, our core group kind of thing that I played with him, we all have respect for him, so that wasn't going to change anything. And if anything, if there was a problem, it was going to be kind of nipped in the butt right away. But he did a phenomenal job. I think he exceeded a lot of expectations from a lot of
guys. Especially when he's having to basically solo run the bench on some of those road games in the first half of the season, man. I can't imagine a tougher challenge here. Here's your first year head coaching in pro hockey. Oh, by the way, you're going to be running the bench away from Carver Arena.
We had some laughs about that too, right? With game management and stuff. Obviously, that's a huge transition. But I remember a couple of times that I can't think of what it was about, but I just looked back and started laughing with him.
It was probably, I wonder if it was during a couple of those road stands when the Rivermen went down on their Huntsville and Pensacola trips, when it's just Eric Levine behind the bench. And that was some of the times that were kind of the doldrums of winter, the dark days of winter, so to speak. I mean, every team goes through these little ups and downs, these hills and valleys. And you got Eric Levine, who's kind of having to manage that. That was a big trial by fire. But I think it also speaks to the leadership core that they were able to rally around. Everyone was able to rally around, coaches and players alike, to kind of get the Rivermen through that rough patch, do you think?
Yeah, and I think, too, a cool thing with Levy, like I have a great relationship with him. I won a championship with him and stuff. So when I was hurt, I remember on that Pensacola trip, I think we lost the first game, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was sitting in the hotel room with him after. It was Hags was in there too, but he's like bouncing off different line combinations with us. So just that kind of have that experience, and then him to also lean on us was just something cool. And I think that helps him with his success a little bit too.
Yeah. Well, as Coach Trudel always says, the best coach teams are player coach teams. That was perfectly a great example of that. What was your reaction to the big news this offseason that Alec Bear has been named the new captain of the Peoria Rivermen, stepping into the shoes that Alec Hageman left now that he's retired and moving on to Wisconsin?
Yeah, I think that's a perfect person to fill in. Obviously, they're 2 different leaders, but I mean, I root for Bears. He's one of my best friends. And when I heard that was going to happen, I was totally on board.
What do you think will make Alec Bear such a good captain? Like you said, different styles from Alec Hageman, obviously.
Yeah, I think when Bearsy's on, he's on. He can easily take over a game, and he's probably the best player in this league. So I think that's where this leadership's going to shine, because he's going to put a lot of pressure on himself to bring that every night, and he will. So,
you had a lot of good quality moments, offensive and defensive, both playing at the forward position and back playing defense as well. In fact, you could make the argument that some would say you played better playing defense than playing forward. But I have to ask you, Jordan, over the last 3 years, how do you think you have grown and matured both as a hockey player and as a person and as a leader as well?
Yeah, I think a lot of the credit goes to Guy and Hags. Like, I think I was just talking to Bearsy about this, just laughing at looking at both of ourselves and how far we came from our first year as far as just that, like you just said, the maturity level. But to watch a guy like Hag, see how he approaches things and carries himself, it had a huge impact on both of us.
Yeah. Yeah. That really makes it make sense, because everyone I talk to about this team this past year always mentions the leadership core, not necessarily Guy and Eric, although they had great pieces, but it was the leadership core. It was the guys like Hageman, like yourself, like an Alec Bear, like a Zach Wilkie, even to an extent, and guys like Mitch McPherson. How was it, by the way, having Mitch McPherson back in the locker room for that playoff run? Because he's one of those guys that he's quiet, but he does such an important job. He does his job perfection every single time. You don't notice it, but he does.
No, it's like clockwork with him. But I remember the first time he came back, like that juiced up a lot of the old guys. I remember seeing him walk in the room and sit in the stall. I was amped up for that one. But like you said, to get him back for playoffs, that's a perfect piece that we needed.
Yeah. And actually, fun fact, did I tell you the David Minion story that he basically had a premonition of that final game for Peoria? Did I tell you this story with David Minion? Okay. So this is right before the Rivermen go on their trip to Huntsville. David Minion, sports writer for the Peoria Journal-Star, and I are sitting on the bench watching practice, and he tells me he had a crazy dream the night before that the Rivermen he had a dream of McPherson scoring a goal, like putting his arms up and the crowd going crazy.
Don't forget the Superman. Yeah,
the Superman and arms up with his signature move. And then in the next instant, in David Minion's dream, the fans are going crazy and everyone's hoisting the President's Cup. So that's his dream. That's his premonition. Fast forward to just after Game 3, and Dave and I are up in the press box, dotting the I's, crossing the T's of all the post-game stuff that happens, the non-exciting stuff that happens long after the lights go out, the players leave the ice and all that. And I turned to Dave, I was like, Dave, you do know who got the game-winning goal, right? It's like Mitch McPherson did. He's like, the color went out of his face, Jordan. He would have thought he saw a ghost.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't even know that story. So that's something cool to add to that one too.
That year just had so many good memories. Obviously, championship aside, what was your favorite memory from that season last year?
Personally, I think the Quad City game right after I came back there in December. That was a good one. I felt like I didn't have to worry about getting a monkey off my back or anything. So I played that night before and I felt decent, but it definitely helped get the cobwebs off, and then getting into Quad City and having that game, that was kind of big for just my confidence coming back in. Oh, yeah. I thought for a second you were going to say J.M. Pietrowski's shootout goal, because if you look at, there's video from behind the bench, it's you and Caden Cahill are like full what the heck just happened, and then jumping up and down like kids on Christmas morning, man. Tell us, what was going through your mind? Because you had to have known JM was going to try that move, right? He actually came up to me and brought it up because he does it in practice all the time. I'm like, why wouldn't you? It works every time. But we still laugh about that one. He sent me a video that a fan took that he found. I think it was on Facebook or something, but just me in the background jumping up and down like that. But I couldn't believe it. That place erupted. Oh, yeah. I couldn't believe, because normally a lot of folks see you're either very, very stoic or you're very laid back. To see you just this outpour of emotion is just like, whoa, that's Jordan Ernst. Wow, that's cool. Yeah, no, you don't see it too often. Those are special moments that you kind of got to embrace when one of your teammates and best friends does something like that. Oh, yeah, absolutely. You mentioned earlier on you wouldn't want to be another team coming into Carver Arena. What is your favorite team in this league to play against? I've got to ask. Probably Roanoke, just for that atmosphere. I like a challenge, and to have somebody heckling you, like you get into it every time you leave the ice. You're getting into it with a fan. I'm not going to shy away from that. I'll let them know a little bit. I love it. There's a couple ones that are probably a little too R-rated for this, but we'll let people imagine. Leave it there. We'll let sleeping dogs lie there. It's tough. The Rivermen aren't going to Roanoke this year. The Rail Yard Dogs come to Peoria for the first weekend,
first homestand of the season, second weekend of the year. But the Rivermen don't go to Roanoke this year. A little bummed about that.
Not for the bus trip. Well, I know that one. Saves you on a long trip.
That's fair. That's very fair. Speaking of bus trips, I had Bearsy on a few weeks ago, and he was mentioning how he is the go-to guy in terms of, whether it's Chell, whether it's Fortnite, whether it's Call of Duty. Is he just blowing smoke, or is this real here?
No, I was waiting for you to ask that one. His opinion on him being the best Chell player, that's just false. I think Hags ran the table back there, and don't get me wrong, he's a great player, but I wouldn't put him as the best. Me and Hags always had a controller in our hands back here. But Cod, he's a phenomenal player. I think him and I together are probably the two best digital athletes on the team.
Okay.
And then you have Barks, who thinks he is. But Barks likes to get me on a game that I've never played before that he already has previously.
Oh,
so a little gap of when he thinks he's good at a game.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That just
until you come back.
Yeah, and it was a game called Valorant that just came out on.
Yeah.
So I said, give me a couple of weeks of playing this every day, and it'll be a completely different story.
Oh, I bet. Who's your preferred team if you're playing Bearsy on Chell? Who's your preferred team to go with?
It could be a East Coast team, honestly. Also,
East Coast team.
Yeah, okay. He could be an all-star team. It doesn't matter.
You'll wax him.
Yeah, as Marcel used to say, just give me the lefty, dude.
I love that. You still keep in touch with any of those guys from the old 2022 championship team? Guys like a God Bout or Casey Kolcheski, those guys?
Yeah, every now and then, right? Like it's not always every day for the most part, but like Jack Berry, he lives in Chicago now, and we've been trying to plan something to get together, but it hasn't worked out.
They'll get there eventually, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. And we have our little Snapchat and groups, so guys are always throwing something in there.
Oh, I bet they are. Well, it is Labor Day, so that means college football is getting going in earnest. We've already had a couple games going already. It really kicks off this week. What is your crazy college football prediction? Or do you have any guesses on what's going to happen this season? No?
I have nothing.
You got nothing?
I'll watch it every now and then, but I'm not super into it.
Okay.
I don't know the rules enough, to be honest with you.
I got you. That's fair enough. You watch any of Coach Prime in Colorado, or you just like?
If I'm watching a game, it's Notre Dame, because my best friend, his family has season tickets, so I've been to one, and it worked out finally where I could go to one with the hockey season. But besides that, I don't really watch football too often.
I gotcha. NFL at all? Because the Bears?
If the guys have it on at the house, I'll watch it. Or I'm trying to get more into the Bears now, especially it seems like they're going to be a little bit more exciting than they have in the past. So
fingers crossed. Fingers crossed, right?
A little bit more. Oh yeah.
Last question for you, Ernie, before I let you go. It is Labor Day. What are your plans for the long holiday weekend?
Recover from this jet lag a bit.
I bet.
Yeah, yesterday was a pretty long travel day. I was definitely up past 24 hours. So it's like once I got there and I started to adjust their time zone, I felt like I was coming back.
Oh, that's awesome. We can't wait. Not only to have you back, we hope you really enjoy it. There's Katie Pogaman who just crashed it.
Whoa, that's Katie Pogaman, VP.
VP, the lady who makes the trains run on time here at the Rivermen office, making her presence known. Jordan, enjoy the weekend. Get some rest. You deserve it, my friend. We can't wait to get you back here at Carver Arena, get the season underway. Talk soon, my friend. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Ruffer.